So, we've been able to create models and collections inside of a static HTML site, right? But I think it'd be really nice if we were able to then model our models and collections off of an existing backend. Wouldn't that be great? I think so. I think that'd be great. No? You guys don't want to do that? All right, we don't have to do it. No, I'm just kidding. We have to do it. No, I think it'd be nice if we had an existing backend and we were just able to model all of our models and collections off of that backend. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we'll be able to generate views off of that backend. So we can ultimately do what we wanted to do for front-end frameworks, which is load up all of our content in one request, and then everything from there on out is all client-side. And the only reason to communicate with the backend is to sync up the backend with what's happening on the front end. I.e., I create a model on the front end, I want it to be created in the database. I delete a model on the front end, I want to delete it in the database. But all that logic is happening in the client, and the only reason we need to talk to the backend is for CRUD. Like to sync the CRUD on the backend with what's happening on the front end. Cool. So we're going to do this on a simple Rails application, but realistically, we can model our models and collections in Backbone on any existing API, right? But we're just going to use an existing Rails app that I created last night. And that app is called Reminders. If you look in the GADC Milk and Cookies repo, Alright, cool. In DAO2 Backbone Models, you'll see BB _ Rails reminder _ reminder. Cool. And there's starter and solution. Obviously, we're going to go with the starter code. Alright, so go ahead and copy this directory into another directory. Any working directory that you want. Or just check out a branch, which is what I'm going to do. What? What's so fun? What are you guys giggling about? Alright, git checkout dash B. Alright, I'm going to dive into this Rails app and I'm just going to show you a little bit of what's going on. While I'm talking, you guys can go ahead and do a RakeDB create, RakeDB migrate, and RakeDB seed, I think. I think I seeded some stuff. I'm not sure. Alright, so in our starter code, we have in our routes, we have one resource. It's called reminders. Alright, so if we go into our rake routes, oops, CD starter. We have basic CRUD functionality for our reminders. Cool. This is all Rails stuff. You guys should be familiar with all this. So we just have this one resource reminders. If we look in our controller, it's all just, oh man, I need to change this. 1 second. Sorry guys. I thought I changed this already. I must have only changed it in the Jamjar radio. Alright. So really simply just change these to this instead, and then replace all the songs with a reminder. Reminder. Capital reminder. Sorry about that, guys. Reminder. And matter of fact, I will just do. Have you guys already pulled it? I could just push the new changes. All right. Well, in that case, I'll just copy and paste this into Slack. That'll be the easiest way. go ahead and shove that in instead of what exists. That's my bad. Thought I changed that already. Cool. So all I'm doing here is, and you guys can keep coding and just listen with one ear. All I'm doing here is I have my 7 RESTful routes. I have an index to show, create, update, destroy. Well, I don't have edit and new, but I'm able to create, update, and destroy my reminders. And I also have an index and show that fetches all my index and my individual reminders with my show. All right, and they're all rendering JSON. Cool. You guys should already be familiar with this. This is what we did with our Trello app, right? Anyone like shaky on this? It's all right. We can rehash if you want. Yeah. All right. So basically, all this is doing is we have a regular Rails app that has an index route, a show route, and then it has create, update, and destroy. Right. The only difference between this and your Rails app that you guys created for your project is that this is only rendering JSON. That's it. And so we're able to do Ajax things to it, but there's no actual HTML with it. Right? It's really just a Rails API backend. That's it. It's just for data.
What is status 200?
Status 200 means OK status. I don't even need that in there. I just kept it in there. I don't know why. We could have just gotten rid of that. But it's the OK status for the HTTP request. Like 500 is like something. 404 is obviously like, you've seen 404 before in the wild, right? It's just different statuses. 200 is good though. All right. So we have this different Rails stuff, and it's got the ability to have reminders. Let's look into the seeds file. I did create some seeds. Cool. So we have learn backbone, learn how to fish, learn backbone beta, and smell cheese. I don't know. Cool. And our schema file, we have reminders, and it's just the string is body, or body is a string, and then the completed status is a boolean. Cool. Any questions on our Rails backend? All right. You guys are going to be creating something similar to this for homework. So this is your point of reference. All right. So again, Backbone, we know how to create models and we know how to create collections, but we don't really know how to model our data off of an existing backend, right? And that's what we're going to get into now. So before we can do that, though, is we have to set up some dependencies and set up some configuration for that. All right. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go into our gem file, and right at the top, doesn't matter where, as long as it's not in like production or whatever. We want to type in gem Rails dash backbone. All right. And after we save our gem file, what do we always want to do? Bundle install. I like it. So we're going to do a bundle install.
Where did you paste the code that you pasted on the slide?
WDI Students 5.
Where?
Oh, in our controller, for our reminders controller, we replaced the existing create, update, and destroy with what I just posted. Say what? For what? Oh, do bundle update instead.
Instead of bundle install?
Yeah, so what happens is in a gem, when your gem file is gemfile.locked, your CoffeeScript is running off of something 2.3 something or another, and so it's locked in that version. So when you install Backbone, it requires like 2.2 something. So it doesn't, like there's a mismatch there. And so when you run bundle update instead, it reconfigures it to work. Does bundle update work for everyone?
Yeah.
Outstanding. Happened to me too. Bundle update. All right. The next thing that I want to do is I want to go into my applications, or my app folder, in my assets, and then in my JavaScripts, and my application.js. This is where I want to be. And I'm just going to copy my notes here. You guys can do the same. right here. I'm going to go ahead and copy all of this and plug it in right here.
Can you select?
It's in my notes, about 4/5 of the way down. Maybe 5/6 of the way down.
Just replace the original form.
Yes. All right, so let's talk about what's going on here. All right. Who thinks they know what's going on here?
Good question.
Yeah?
Never mind. Okay.
All right. Toby, you want to take a stab at it?
So, what do I think is going on in adding?
Yeah, so we added like 4 new things, or 6 new things, it looks like. But it looks kind of similar to what we did here, only it's a little bit different. Right? Something, it looks kind of like this, right? Only it's a little bit, it's formatted a little differently.
Looks like that.
Yeah. So what's going on there?
Looks like that's how we tell Rails where to look for files.
Yeah. This is Sprockets, guys. Right? So all this is saying is, hey, I want you to require jQuery, which is defined in our gem file. I also wanted you to require jQuery UJS, which is also in our gem file. Turbo links, same. Underscore and backbone. Those are both encapsulated by the Rails backbone gem. So that's why we're including both of these. And again, order matters, right? Underscore requires jQuery. Backbone requires underscore. That's why we have it in this order. And then what is this? Required tree. What is this?
Kind of like what?
Guessing Rails wouldn't normally look in that folder.
Yeah, Rails is going to look in the folder that is the sibling of it, right? So we're in this current directory, which is JavaScripts. And it's going to say, hey, I want to go into the backbone folder. Well, we don't have a backbone folder now, but we're going to define that in a little bit, all right? I just wanted you guys to include it now. I want you to include the backbone folder. Inside the routers folder, I want all of those files. Then I want, inside the models file folder, all those files, and so on and so forth.
You used the term sprockets a minute ago.
What's that?
You used the term sprockets a minute ago.
Yeah, Sprockets is it a gem?
It's a gem. It's a part of Rails.
Yeah. It's basically the asset pipeline, though. It's how it loads the dependencies and the assets. Cool. All right, so I think now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and create these folders so Rails knows what I'm talking about. Because right now they have no idea what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to do an ls. I'm going to go into my app, go into assets, go into JavaScripts. I'm going to just do a tree on this current directory. So right now I'm in the JavaScripts folder. So it says that, oh, I need the backbone routers folder. Okay, so I probably need the backbone folder first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do a tree again so you guys can see. All right, I got a backbone folder. All right, now I probably want to make all these other folders too. So backbone, routers, and models, and collections, and views. You might be saying to yourself, but Andy, we haven't talked about routers or views. And you're absolutely right. I just want you guys to know the configuration first. That way when they get into it on Wednesday and Thursday, you guys aren't floundering. But know that we're not going to use these at all today. I just want you guys to include them now so you know that they're there.
With the folders. What about?
Where are the folders for the backbone? I just created a backbone folder. Then I created 4 folders inside of that folder. Alright. So again, right here I have my application.js file, which is this file right here, which is loading all of my dependencies. Alright. I have my backbone folder, which contains my collections folder, my models folder, my routers folder, and my views folder. Cool. And again, routers and views we're not using today. Just wanted to show you guys that. Oops. All right, let's go ahead and create our file that's gonna rest inside of our models folder. Those are gonna be backbone, models, and then what do you guys want to call this file that's gonna define our backbone model?
Reminder.
Yeah, reminder. You know, we'll just be extra semantic and go ahead and call it reminder model. Alright, and I'm going to do the same thing with our collections. Alright.
Did you go back again? Sorry.
Mhm. Alright. Now what I want to do is I just want to set up a really quick root page. What is it? Root 2? This is wrong. Someone tell me the answer.
It's root
Root.
2 and then colon your
Like root underscore 2? Root 2 colon?
yeah.
Like that?
No, but the colon goes to the space and then colon where your route is. I'm sorry, 2
2
and then space
space.
and then colon.
Don't I do like I want to do application.
Maybe I'm getting
Index.
confused with resources.
So you don't need to, it's just root.
It's just root. That's it, right?
You can say root 2 colon as well.
Okay. All right. Sorry. All right.
Refreshing. It's also a little bit slow.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. I just wanted to make a root page for my application. What's that? Oh yeah, good call. Oh Rails, why are you so helpful? Look at that. Awesome. Sick. Alright, cool. So I'm just gonna go into my application controller and I can just put def index end. I think. Let me see. What did I do with my soft controller? I guess I have to do this. I have to render the layout. Alright, so all I want to do really is I want to render our layout and have no text in it. This is just to load a blank HTML so we can play inside the console once we define our models and collections. Awesome. Cool. Everyone here? Sweet. Alright, now what I want to do is I just want to change up our definitions for our model. Right? So currently we have nothing. So we're going to do var reminder equals backbone.model.extend. This looks pretty familiar, right guys? Yes. Sweet. All right, and I'm gonna put my defaults here. Okay, completed. Done. False. And we're gonna also pass in one other thing here. This is why Backbone is awesome. URL root / reminders. And just like that, we've attached this model to our application. So something to note here is if this was a static HTML site, well, a couple things to know. If this was a static HTML site and we were trying to fetch some other endpoint, right, it wouldn't be / reminders. It would be like http : //weatherunderground.com, some API key, and then an endpoint, right? This is just because it's on our Rails backend, we're able to just do / reminders because Rails is smart and Backbone is smart, right? But if we were to use Backbone and we're requesting from an external API, something that's not associated with stuff that's on our own server, we would put an entire URL root here, right? And we can do that. Cool. All right, any questions?
Can I see your application controller? That's the regular. That's application controller in the regular controller file, not the backbone. Never mind.
Yeah, it's just the application controller. And then don't worry about this. I actually put this in for different reasons. I put this in because I initially had this lesson planned so that I had, the static HTML site you guys built before that had nothing to do with Rails. I wanted that to access with Backbone, but because of time constraints, and to allow an external source to use your Rails backend, you have to have this line on your application controller. Otherwise, it doesn't allow cross-origin referencing something, site, something.
Just forgot, what was modular W stand for?
Modular W?
Or percentage W?
Oh, an array.
Oh, that just means an array.
Yep.
Get an array, like get.
It means instantiate an array. It's the same as
Correct.
writing an array. Only now, like, quick mini Ruby lesson. Cat, dog. It's the same thing as yes, functionally equivalent. All right, cool. Everyone good? All right, so now I want to define my collection as well while I'm here. So this is going to be var reminders collection equal to backbone dot collection dot extend. All right. And here we'll do model, same as before. Reminder model. And here we're going to pass in URL, which is / reminders. So something to note here is that in our collection we have URL. But in our model we have URL root. Again, URL and URL root. And the basic differentiation between this is you don't really need URL root for the model if it's associated with the collection, right? We're just putting it in there to be extra sure, essentially, but it's not necessary. So if we don't have a collection associated with our model, we want to then use URL root, and that's why I included it in there, just so you guys can see it. But if it's associated with the collection, it's going to be associated with this route anyways, right? And it's basically the same route either way. Thing to Google is URL versus URL root. I'm still kind of hazy on it myself. But the basic premise is if the model is associated with the collection, it doesn't need a URL or a URL root. If it's by itself, it needs a URL root. Cool. All right, so if you haven't already, go ahead and do a RakeDB create, RakeDB migrate, RakeDB seed. And I'm just going to do Rails S. Start up my server. And I'm going to go to my localhost 3000. Cool. And I have nothing. Reminder model is not defined. Okay. Collections. Interesting.
Should it be reminder lowercase r model?
I'm done. No, I just didn't have a model. I just put reminder instead. Alright, and that error goes away. Alright. So again, we have our reminder model, which has a URL root. We have reminders, which has a URL. Awesome. Alright, so if we go into here and we say var reminder is equal to new reminder model, and we pass in an ID and hit enter. Nothing's really changed from our first iteration of this when we did just models and collections without Backbone, or without Rails. So again, we see child, but now the only attribute here is completed and false. So we defaulted it false, and the ID is 1, right? But now what we can do is we can do something cool called fetch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to call fetch on it. I'm going to hit enter. Boom. What do you think that's returning, guys? If you had to take a total guess.
I think it's pulling from the Rails escape data because right now.
Yeah, basically. But what is it returning? But you're absolutely right. What's the return?
ID one is in the first thing in the Rails.
Sort of. I think it's part of that.
Pulling all that.
But what's returned in an AJAX request? Yeah, if we make an AJAX request to a server, any external API, what's the return value of the AJAX request itself? Yeah, it's an object, but what kind of object is it? It's a promise object. It's a promise object. And one of the values of the promise object, one of the key value pairs of the promise object is the response, right? Right? And so we call .fetch on this, and we can now see that reminder, if we see it again, if we go into its attributes, now all of a sudden it has a body. It's crazy. What's up?
When I do fetch, I get this, I get a 404 not found error.
So you're saying when you do the fetch, you get a 404 not found error. Do you have your Rails server running? Did you do Rails S? Interesting. And your root's the same?
Yep.
Let's go down.
Or down.
Up?
The other way.
This way? More?
Yes.
Right.
More?
Hey.
Oh, okay. It was the I.
Hey, Adam, can you help out chat? Almost a crowd pleaser. walking smooth after. Cool. So basically what I did, guys, is I created a new reminder model, and I passed in the ID of 1 as its only key value pair, which is no different from what I was doing before, right? But under the hood, Backbone knows, hey, I see this ID. When you call fetch on me, I'm going to go retrieve it from the backend based on the URL root, or based on the URL.
And because it's already seeded. right?
Yes.
Okay.
And because it's seeded. So in my seed file, you'll notice that my very first one is learn backbone. Right? So if I pass in the ID of 4, I should get back smell cheese. Let's go ahead and do that. A reminder to smell cheese equals new reminder model. ID 4. And then we're going to call dot fetch. Alright, and then a reminder to smell cheese. And we go to attributes, smell cheese. Pretty cool, right? So we're integrating our backend to define the attributes of our model. And I think that's really exciting. I don't know if you guys are excited about it, but I am. Alright, cool. So I also mentioned, hey, this is a promise object. What were we able to do with promise objects in Ajax? What are some methods we called on these promise objects? Yeah, dot done and dot fail, right? Oh, cool. So let's go ahead and try that.
Before we try that, can we
Yeah, go ahead.
scroll up a little bit
Yeah, what's up?
to fetching ID 4?
Let me make this even bigger. Alright, so all I did here in the middle of the screen was I set a random variable that I could have called it pizza. Doesn't matter. I called it reminder to smell cheese, right? Because I knew it was going to be the smell cheese reminder. I instantiated a new reminder model with which its only key value pair, as it stands right now, is ID and 4. Under the hood, Backbone's really smart, Rails is really smart, and Backbone knows, hey, you have an ID of 4, I'm going to fetch, when I call .fetch on it, I'm going to fetch from the backend the same model under that root URL, under that URL that we described in the collection. I'm going to say, hey, alright, well, the ID is 4, I'm going to retrieve the model that has the ID of 4, and then fill in the rest of the attributes that's based off of that model. And so when I call .fetch, the return value of .fetch is a promise object. Alright? In that promise object is probably a response, which is a JSON object, which is what this is, the Backbone object. And then a whole bunch of other stuff that we don't care about.
Can you say
Yeah, the return value of fetch, basically what it's doing, realistically what's important to you, what it's doing, is it's fetching from our backend, retrieving those attributes, the key value pairs inside of your backend, and placing them inside your Backbone model.
Okay.
That's what's important. But also, additionally what's important is .fetch itself is a promise, like it returns a promise object, which means we can call .done and .fail on it, right? So with respect to views and rendering, right, now we can say .fetch and then call .done on it, say, oh, if it was successful, I want you to render this view. If it wasn't, I want you to throw an error.
Okay. And what is ID 4 doing again? So
I just knew that it was the ID 4.
okay.
Right? Generally speaking, you're not going to ever retrieve your models like this anyways. What you're going to do is you're going to retrieve all of the models.
Weirdly enough, when I did reminder to smell cheese, I have 2 completed versions. I have completed false with a typo and completed true. Is that a super bad sign?
Completed false with a typo?
Yes.
Which one? What's the typo?
The completed, the last E is missing.
Well, that's
false.
your fault then.
I didn't do anything though. I just did.
You misspelled it somewhere.
Reminder
Trust
to
me,
smell
computers do not do anything on their own.
But-
You always are explicitly telling
No,
computers what
I
to
just
do.
Exactly did what you just did there.
I guarantee you misspelled completed somewhere, and that's why it's there twice. 100% guarantee. Not to insult you, I'm just saying that's
No,
what
this
happened.
Like I never seen this before.
Question?
Are we gonna, so how do we get it? Are we next gonna be like getting all of the one thing?
Yes. The question was, are we gonna get them all? Is that possible? And the answer is yes. Your question?
I was stretching.
You were stretching. Okay.
I'm sure I have.
Allison was stretching. No big deal. All right, cool. So everyone kind of tracking what's going on so far? A little bit? Eh. All right, we're going to just keep going, all right, guys? We're just going to keep going. What's up?
We never have to use like Ajax again for this kind of thing.
What's that?
We never have to use Ajax again for this kind of thing. Use a backbone.
No. You won't. And that's really nice, right? I mean, I think it's really nice. You just, basically, we just made, where's the dot fetch part? This part, this just got rid of like 6 lines of code for us, right? It's pretty nice. And let me show you some more cool things that we can do with Ajax. Glenn?
Can you say again what it is that Fetch is doing? It returns as a promise?
Yes. Okay. Let me just type it out and then do it as I go as well.
This is what I have.
All right. So I'm going to create a new reminder here. Var reminder equals new reminder model. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explicitly tell it which ID of the reminder that I want from the backend. Okay? What's that? Exactly. I'm making a new one on the client side, but I know which one that I want it to refer to on the backend side. So I know I want the second reminder. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. As it stands right now, reminder is exactly what you left off with when we were doing it in the first part of the day, right? It's got a client ID, it's got attributes, but the only attributes are what we define in the JavaScript. Nothing to do with the backend, right? There's no body here yet, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call fetch on it. All right? What that's going to return is a promise object. All right? Yeah, the promise object is what's returned on an Ajax call. When an Ajax call is being made, a promise object is returned. Part of that promise object is the response. And so you know how when we do .done and then we do function response and then something with that response? Same thing. Only this is a different, it's the same type of object, promise object. Okay? So now we have this promise object. It also changed what our reminder is. So now if we go back to reminder and see what it is, we now see that it has a body. Learn how to fish.
So this really just like an update.
No, it's more like a get function, right? Fetch. We're just fetching the information and playing. We're creating it on the client side by doing var reminder equals new reminder model, right? But realistically, all we're doing is we're just fetching that information and then putting it into the client. That's it. Generally speaking, like you're gonna do this on page load, right? So when you want to render your view, all that stuff, the fetching is gonna happen all at once, and then you're gonna render your view. You're not gonna do anything like this. I just want to show you what's happening, like under the hood, kind of, sort of, not really. Cool. Allison?
So then, like, dot set is a version of altering on the, like, changing the information that was in the database, right?
No.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
But
we haven't gotten to that
We
yet.
haven't done that.
We haven't gotten to that
I just
yet.
want to make sure I didn't miss
Cool. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to create a brand new reminder. So if we look, I'm just going to go to localhost right here. I'm going to go to reminders. So you can see that, wow, I have a lot of reminders because I've created a lot of new ones. All right. So we can see that we have 11 reminders here, right? Everyone can see that. You can see all the way down here. If I scroll all the way down, I can't scroll anymore. Can't scroll anymore. Then we have ID 11, right? All right, this is what I want to do. All right, we haven't refreshed this page yet, right? We're not going to refresh this page. But I'm going to do var new reminder, just to symbolize, hey, this is going to be a new reminder. An absolutely new one. We're going to create this one from scratch. New reminder model. And what should the body be, guys? What should our new reminder be? Let's make it something snazzy. Spiffy. What? Okay. Come on, creativity, guys. Let's go. No?
Take tap lessons.
Take tap lessons. Good enough. Take tap lessons. Cool. And remember, we already have a default, so the completed status is going to be false. All right, I'm going to go on to our Rails backend. We see that it's still 11 at the end, right? All right, after I refreshed. So we created it on the client side, right? We just created a new reminder object on the client side. So if we do new reminder, we can see that it has a CID of C4. It has attributes. It's take tap lessons. Its completed value is false. Okay? Now check this out. You guys ready for this? Are you guys ready? What? Check this out. I'm going to hit enter. And then crazy stuff is going to happen on the back end. Notice no page refreshes are happening. Nothing's happening page refresh wise. But then let's go to our index on this page, refresh it, and now there's a 12th one. What? Awesome! Backbone is awesome. So now instead of passing in data, doing a post AJAX request, passing in a URL every time, all we have to do instead is call .save. And I think that's really swell. You guys don't think that's really swell?
Okay, so like your JavaScript object or your background object you've created on the front end model, right?
Yeah. Let me go back here.
So
So right here, I'm creating a new model on the front end side.
right.
That's var new reminder equals new reminder model body take tap lessons.
So you have this object on the client side that can read on the back end. It can set things that just exist on the client side.
It can, but it hasn't yet. It's only until we call save that it's communicating with the back end.
But it gets the data from the back end, right?
No. I created this from scratch. This wasn't in our database at all. Before us, Rails did not know that they needed to take tap lessons.
Right, I knew that. I know
Okay.
that. But I'm saying, but you have access to what's in the database before now.
Only if I fetch it.
Right. So when you set something in that, like let's say you fetch an object and you set an attribute, it exists on the client side, but if you start another session, that will disappear if you haven't saved it.
Yes, correct. So just to show you again, so we have this reminder, ID 12. It's take tap lessons, correct? All right. So now if I do new reminder dot set body, and this one's don't take tap lessons, right? And I go over here and I refresh. What do you guys think is going to happen? Is it going to change here? No, I don't think so either. And it's not, right? But now, see, just take tap lessons at the bottom here. Right? At the very bottom, take tap lessons. But now if I go in here and I do new reminder dot save, hit enter. Now we refresh this. Don't take tap lessons. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's really cool. Really awesome. I mean, it's just so much AJAX that you don't have to write anymore. Right? I think that's pretty swell. I need to stop using that word. It's like from the 70s or something. It's something now.
Sorry, I got lost a little bit. Why did it add another object instead of overriding the previous one?
It did override the previous one. So the question was, why did it add another object instead of overriding the previous one? But it did override the previous one. The ID is still 12.
Oh, did you specify the ID as 12?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, I didn't specify the ID as 12. The last entry in the reminders was 11. Then I created a new reminder on my backend, and it created one with the ID. When I saved it. All right. Any other questions?
Can you go back to constant again?
Yeah.
I chance you can export that and send it out.
What do you want me to export? I mean, I can copy and paste it. The whole thing, everything.
I missed about 5 minutes trying to troubleshoot something.
Can I do Control Command A? I don't know what that's gonna look like. I'm scared. Is anyone else scared? Oh God. Oh God, no! Delete, undo, delete. Stop. No. All right, so yeah, that didn't work. I can screenshot it. I don't know. What do you not understand about this is the better question. Maybe I can explain it so you don't have to
No, as I was.
Copy it.
So once I finally did.
write these things down. How about that? Write these things down. Dot save will either create or update your model in your database. All right. Dot fetch will retrieve data from your database.
Wait,
And then you guys know everything else. Dot get, dot set. Yeah, but dot fetch will retrieve data from your database. Dot save will update or create on your database based on what you're doing. So i.e., if you have a new backbone model that the Rails app doesn't know about, it'll create. If you have a backbone model that has an ID already that corresponds with the ID in the database, it will update. That's what dot save will do.
And are you able to access all of them using collections?
Yes, and we'll go into that right now. Cool. Yeah, so if we just do var collection, it's equal to new reminders collection, and I don't think we even need to pass in anything. I think we just do that, and then do collection.fetch, and then call collection again. So see how we have 12 in our array? So all I did literally was just instantiated it. Literally, that's it. I didn't pass in any arguments at all. I just instantiated the collection that I defined, right, in my JavaScript file. Then I called .fetch on it. And now I have access to all of my models in my database, just like that. Pretty cool. Pretty sweet. But again, if you look at my code right here on reminders collection, this is it. That's literally all of my code. That's it. Backbone.collection.extend, model reminders model, URL reminders. That's it. And now we have programmatic access to our entire resource in just those couple of lines.
You save that your database and you left out.
What's that?
You deleted your collections and then you saved it.
If you deleted your what?
Your collection.
Uh-huh.
And you saved it. Your backend would be left out.
Yes. That's correct. So while it's really powerful, it's also really dangerous. Enoch brings up a really great point.
You go back to the console.
Yeah.
After you patched it. Oh.
Yeah, I just called it again so you guys could see it. But this is exactly what you guys think it is. Here's all the models, and these are each one of them. You know, this one is Learn Backbone. This last one is Don't Tap Dance. Or Don't Take Tap Lessons. Who else has questions? What do you want? Scroll up. Don?
How often would you save?
So the question is, how often would I save?
Right, you can create something without actually saving it to the database, right?
Basically, whenever you want to sync your backend with the front end, is when you should save. Right? So if you are doing something that you want persisted on the front end, you want to make a .save on it then.
Remember how when we deleted an object that had previous attributes? Remember that part?
Mhm.
If we deleted everything, we'd have to go off previous attributes.
Yes. I don't want to try that though.
Okay.
I could just see my database again.
That's okay.
Questions? Any other questions? Yeah, this is kind of hard to wrap your head around, right? But like once you do, it's so cool, right?
I
So
have
cute, guys.
only 5 objects in mind array.
Yeah, that's because I've got a lot more test files that I messed with, and I think I reseeded my database twice. Like, yeah, you could just do rake DVC twice more, and then you'll have like 13. Like, it's not a competition with me, alright? Like, it's not a race, man. Alright, cool. Yeah.
You could commit, and then you could go back to that commit.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, you got all this stuff in there, and then you commit it and save it, and then you can delete it all, and then go back to the commit, and you can still have it all there, yes.
Not if you deleted it all.
But from the previous commit. Oh,
No, it's not. It's not like Git. It's a database, right? It's not a repository.
Just trying to figure out how to get a Control Z in there somewhere.
Cool. Yeah.
Undo.
So who has other questions? This is pretty much it. There's like more advanced stuff like with collections and models, but this is like the nitty gritty, like what you need to know. You could also do, I think it's .destroy. So if I do new reminder. Let's see, which one is this? This one's ID 12, right? I think I can just do .destroy. Yeah. And so now if I go back to here, I should no longer be able to don't take tab lessons. Yeah, it's gone. So .destroy gets rid of it, deletes.
And so when you deleted it, did it go from the database to or just from the session?
Say again?
Did you delete it from the session or from the database also?
So the question was, did I delete it from the session or from the database? It's deleted from the database because as soon as I refresh this, it no longer exists, right? It's not really even a session. It's like what's being loaded into the client. It's like what's happening in the client, right? Which is different from a session because sessions persist from request to request, right? But if as soon as I hit refresh, everything that I did that's not saved to the database is gone. As soon as I refresh. You know?
There are potential problems. It's like you have direct access to the database. I say I want to jump on as well. You have like 2, 3, 4 people trying to manipulate the database.
I mean, so databases in general, like the things that are happening on the Rails side of things is happening synchronously, right? Whereas our Ajax calls are all happening async, which means that basically you and Keith are both making an Ajax call to, at the exact same time, you guys are both making an Ajax call to the Rails. Rails will still be like, Keith was first, or Enoch was first. Right? Yeah. Acid. Yeah, acid, right? It's all coming back. You guys, oh wow, that sounded terrible. But ACID is an acronym for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. And isolation is exactly what Allison was talking about. I'm not tripping, I promise. Cool. Any other questions? Any other questions? I know it's tricky, so please feel free to ask them while we still have time. Plenty of time.
How hard would it be, or how easy would it be for anyone to actually destroy something on your website?
Oh, super easy if they were smart enough.
So,
But you can prevent it. You want to speak more to that?
That's what authorization is for, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to control who can delete which reminders, then you would use something like can on your website to determine when the delete request goes through. Because the actual deletion is handled in your Rails apps controller. So you can use a gem or an if statement to decide whether to allow delete.
But as far as like you're concerned, like right now with this app, anyone that's using it can just like destroy whatever they want.
It's not that great.
So right, like what I'm saying, like, make sure your authorizations.
So eventually, are you gonna be doing stuff like collection.save, like append child
I don't
inner
think-
HTML, like stuff like that we did on like.
I mean, if you're talking about are we going to be rendering views, then the answer is yes.
Okay, so it's kind of gonna be like that, right? Like the way we did it, kind of Ajax request when
Yeah.
we did
Honestly,
response dot
honestly,
title
what you guys
plus
did with-
minus.
what you guys did with Trello is going to be pretty similar
Okay.
to this week. Very similar. There's a couple things called like you guys only dabbled with L, and L is a lot more apparent with Backbone. What L means and what L does.
Oh, so like in our views file, or in our model, we're gonna have like for our new like, and then put in key value pairs, do dot saves, and do like find by stuff like that in there.
I don't know what 10 different words you just used there,
Okay.
but I'm just gonna go ahead and say yes.
Okay.
Just to
Never
give you
mind.
just to give you an idea though, like you'll have a view that's based off of the reminder view, right? You'll have a view that's based off the reminder model, and you'll have a collection view, a list view that's based off of the collection. Okay, and the reminder view are going to be little itty bits and pieces of your HTML, and the collection list view is going to be generally what's the entirety of the page. And so your list views are going to be comprised of reminder views. And the way to template and render those individual item views or reminder views is to have individual reminders providing data to render. But that's more of Adam's lesson. And the other cool thing is that really helps in Backbone for callbacks is the ability to add event listeners on CRUD functionality, i.e., when something's destroyed, I can call render there. Or when something's added to the database, I want to call render again there. You know, the ability to add CRUD functionality or event listeners to CRUD functionality is really, really powerful. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions, guys? Feel free. Speak now, forever hold your peace. All right, cool. So what's going to happen now is you guys are going to do this same thing on radio. You got it. Let me see. Let me look it up real quick. Jamjar Radio. Here's the starter. The README doc isn't that great, so if you have any questions, let me know. I just made it up really quick, so I didn't have much time. But it's the same sort of thing. Make sure you fix your gem file, fix your sprockets stuff, define your models, define your collections, and then just play around with the different things that you can do with fetch, save, create, and all that. Oh, one thing I wanted to show you guys. Sorry. So just like Active Record, if we go into here and I hit refresh, I know that we have 11, right? Because we just deleted the last one. We can also do something called, what is it, collection? Is that what I called it? Yeah. So, notice that we have 12 here, right? That's interesting. I'm just going to do a new one. New collection, reminders, collection. Alright, and then collection.fetch. Collection. Alright, so we have 11. Alright, because we have 11 here. Alright. So if I go in here and I do collection.create, just like that, and then I pass in an object. This is going to be body. This is a new reminder. Hooray. And then this will be completed. False. I don't even have to pass it in, but I will. Alright, so I created a new object in my collections. And actually, what shows up here is I have a new object. So create is just like an active record, right? Or it literally creates the object. So this is a part where it changes the database without calling save on it. We're creating another model within the collection. So this is another cool helper method that I wanted to show you guys before you get started. All right, cool. So go ahead and go into your Jamjar Radio app. Go ahead and knock that out. And after that, Adam's going to kind of talk to you at a high level what he wants to go over with views, just so kind of like mills around in your head a little bit. And then I'll give out the homework, and then we'll have one-on-ones up at 4:30. So go ahead and take like a 10-minute break before you guys get started on this. I just realized that we didn't take a break at all. Take a 10-minute break, come back to the Jam Jar Radio, do that till about 3:45-ish. Adam will talk to you guys, and then I'll give out the homework at 4:30. And then we'll do one-on-ones. What's up?
How you create?
The collection?
Yeah.
This? Shut it down.